It's dark. Maybe I should turn on some light. Yeah, let's put that on. You guys should already know that I'm just me. I'm just here. Look, there's Naomi. Look at her. She looks so cute. She's ready. Look, let's put this on. Oh, now it looks like it's blinding me. What light is that? Is that one? No, don't turn that one on. Turn the kitchen one on. Turn this one off. Michael wants to be in the video. There's my trophies. See them? All 4 of them. Hey y'all, welcome to Tuesdays with Tish. Yeah, that's a little bit better. It's still kind of dark though. There's another, are they both on? Oh well. Did you get in my video? I'm gonna try to make this one like super short tonight. I hope you guys are gonna chime in. I don't see anybody yet. I put this, I wasted my edge control on you. If you're watching live, type live. If you're watching the replay, type replay so I can know who's who. If you're here, there's somebody. Type live for me so I can know who you are. I want to see you. Welcome everybody. Oh, here they come. Here they come. Woo! Okay, the music that's playing is called Atlantis by Mini Producer. I paid for that. What? You come to show them your hair? You show them? That looks cute. I like it. All right, we're going to get started here in just a moment. And listen, tonight's topic, the 5 keys to effective communication. Hey, Yolanda. There's not enough time to tell you all of the keys. What is that? All of the keys. I can only share just a few of them tonight because we won't have enough time to just go through everything. But this song, I'm not going to play this whole song either. Let's go ahead and let's get started because it's time. And I got to finish packing. It's time for me to get ready to go. Time for me to get ready to go. Last time I forgot to tell you who I was because I assumed that you knew, but you don't always know. I'm Letitia Randolph. Welcome to Tuesdays with Tish. If you're watching live, type live for me so I can see you. I want to say hi. And if you're watching the replay, type replay. It's kind of fun to see how many people come back and watch the replay of this. So let me know you're here. I got my fake real hair. Fake real hair or real fake hair. Either way, it's real hair, but it's not mine. So people call it fake. Excited, I'm ready. I'm ready for my trip. And we're going to start with who I am, Letitia Randolph. Tonight's topic is the 5 keys to effective communication. These are just 5 of many. We're going to talk about just a few of them. We'll have another time to talk about some more. Live if you're watching live, replay if you're watching the replay. Naomi, can you make me some coffee? When she comes back, thank you for putting up, put up some hearts and likes. That's kind of nice. I'm going to tell you there's a scripture for that, and I'm going to give you today's tip. What's up, Tanya? Oh, I got to be careful because I lost my voice was leaving. There's a scripture for that is in James. When I was a teacher in California, hey girl, oh good, I'm glad you're here. It's her first time live. When I was a teacher in California, I made my students, I've taught every grade from preschool to 12th grade. Did you know that? Did you know I used to be a teacher? I'm looking for my Passion Translation. I used to be a teacher, and I don't want to say it the wrong way, but let's just say my favorite grades to teach were anywhere from preschool to 5th grade, and then 9th grade to 12th grade, and then whatever was in the middle wasn't my favorite. They weren't ready. They didn't know who they were yet. And there's a special person for that. But I'm still friends with some of those middle school students I used to teach. But I used to make them write out this scripture because they were doing too much talking, and they used to get in trouble. And it's in James. It's James chapter 1, verses 19 and 20. I don't know where my readers are, but I think I can make it. Okay, I'm reading the King James Version, then I'm going to read it in Passion Translation. King James says it this way. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, that's brothers and sisters, by the way. Wherefore, hey, Danny Katoa. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear and slow to speak, slow to wrath, for the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Yes. Yeah, 5:5-8. Let me read it to you in the Passion Translation, then I'll quote the one that I memorized. Passion Translation says, oh my goodness, I can't see. My dearest brothers and sisters, I told you it was brothers and sisters. My dearest brothers and sisters, take this to heart. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. For human anger is never I've never read it in the Passion Translation. For human anger is never a legitimate tool to promote God's righteous purpose. Okay, Passion Translation is my favorite now. My dearest brothers and sisters, take this to heart. Be quick to listen or quick to hear, but slow to speak and slow to become angry. For human anger is never a legitimate tool to promote God's righteous purpose. Woo! That is good. Read the rest on your own. James chapter 1, verses 19 and 20. In the NIV version, I think it is. I think it says, be quick to hear and slow to speak and slow to anger. Be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. But I like that, what the Passion Translation said about not, I know, isn't that good, Tanya? It's not a good tool to promote God's righteous purpose, I think it said. So that is today's scripture for that. We're talking about communication. I'm going to give you 5 key tips, 5 keys for effective communication. But before I do, I'm going to give you my tip of the day. Okay, I forgot to give that last time. Today's tip is to end with a question until it's the end. That's how I'm going to say it. End with a question. Always end with a question until it's the end. When you're in a conversation, end with a question until it's the end. When it's actually the end, it can be over. But if you're trying to have a conversation, you need to ask the next question. If you're leading that conversation, you need to ask the next question, because otherwise it could just fall. Have you ever sent a text message to someone, or you've been talking to someone and you say something and then that's it? It's not a question. You just make a statement. Did you make me coffee? Will you, please? Pretty please? Yeah, that's fine. And I'll put it in here. And then the conversation just ends, like it doesn't go anywhere, or maybe it's awkward and you're just sitting there and you're like, okay, what do we say next? You got to think of the next question. And sometimes it's not quite like when I met my husband. Man, we were talking like that, like right away. Okay. You like that, Tanya? Thank you. We were talking right away. I mean, we were just flowing. But sometimes you're talking to people, it's not that easy. It's not that much of a flow, because you're really trying to get to know each other. Maybe you're nervous, it's awkward. And so you are kind of just sitting there. So you got to think of some questions. You might even think of those questions up front before you get there. If you're having coffee with someone, hey, what's the funnest place you've ever been to? Or how did you like that? What did you like best about it? I mean, we're trained well in Legal Shield to ask questions after someone sees information to see, how are they feeling about it? But I'm telling you, it doesn't even matter if you're in sales. If you're in sales especially, but even if you're not in sales, always end with a question until it's the end. Because then if you keep asking questions, it won't ever end. But ask a question to get clarification. Ask questions to keep that conversation going and to put it back in the other person's court. Oh, you did it that fast? Thank you. Did you guys see my pretty daughter come say hi to the world? She looks so cute with her braids, first time having braids. So that's my tip today. Today's tip, end with a question until it's the end. I learned that from a millionaire. He might be a billionaire. And ever since I learned that and I started using it in my sales, it has really helped me to keep things moving. Like, asking a question. One of the questions I ask when someone's not ready is, when would you like me to follow up with you? Isn't that a good question? When would you like me to follow up with you? That's a great question. If you want to learn some good questions, John Maxwell has a book called Leaders Ask Great Questions. That's a good book recommendation. I should start adding that too. But I'm not going to add that to my list, because then I have to remember all these things every time I get on here. And last time I forgot to tell you my name. I'm trying to stick with the scripture. I always remember the scripture because I want to insert God into this. And then, so that's easy. And then I forgot the tip last time. So I'm just going to stick to 2, but maybe every once in a while I'll give you a book recommendation as well. All right. Tip number 1 for the key. The key number 1. Thank you, Naomi. You're so kind. Key number 1 for communication. It goes right with the scripture, and that is listen. It's a big part of communication, because that's how arguments start. Thank you. Oh, Tanya, I need you in all my lives. She's put all the notes in the chat for me. It's how arguments start because someone wasn't listening. I know that my husband and I, there have been several times throughout the 15 years that we've been married when I said something and he thought I said something else, or he thought I meant something else, or he said something just a few minutes ago. He said something he said I didn't hear. And I don't know, maybe I didn't listen. I don't know, but I didn't hear that. And I tried my best to really listen and do what he needs me to do and help however he needs me to help. I didn't hear that one. But the first tip for effective communication is listening. And listen to understand. That was the name of my Toastmasters. See those trophies? 2 of those are from that last speech. Listen to understand. Because if you're just listening to say what you want to say, you're not listening. You're just waiting. I need a spoon. I don't want mail. I don't like mail. Unless it has money in it. I don't want it. She's trying to give me... Oh, I thought that was my coffee. She's trying to give me mail. Listen to understand. Because now listen, I'm not just telling you stuff that I haven't had to learn on my own. I used to be that person, and I have to stop myself from being that person a lot of times, and I've gotten really good at it. I practice a lot of waiting and really hearing out what the person is saying before I respond, which is what that scripture was saying. Be quick to hear, not quick to talk. Quick to hear and slow to speak. Have you ever said something too fast and you wish you didn't say it? Wish you could take it back? It's too late. Listen first. Digest what someone is saying. Try to make sure you understand it. Ask questions before you start going and talking some more. And if you listen to understand, then you can come back and process your thoughts and how you're going to respond to that. Okay. So that's the first tip. And I learned, because I used to, and I still do sometimes, finish people's sentences. I try not to do that because it's not a good habit. Finish people's sentences. Try to think you know what they're going to say before they say it. So you're saying it and they're like, no, that's not what I was going to say. And you're like, oh, that's not a good practice. So I had to step back, and that scripture really helped me because I really try to live by what the word says. So that scripture helped me because, like, oh dang, man, quick to hear, slow to speak. Okay, got it, God. And so, hey Rob. So be quick to hear and slow to speak, and listen first before you respond. Not react, but before you respond. And that's going to get you a better conversation. And people want to be listened to. One of my biggest pet peeves, and I'm not going to tell you who does it to me. It's a couple people. There's a few people who do it to me. I'll say something and they don't acknowledge. They're not acknowledging what I'm saying, and they're already skipping to the next thing. So I don't feel like they're listening to me. So I'll say things like, I ask questions. I told you about that. I'll ask a question and say, did you hear what I just said? Yeah, I heard you. I said, what did I say? And then they say like almost all of it, but not all of it. I'm like, they weren't listening to me. So don't be that person. Make sure you're really listening to people, because sometimes they're saying something really important. I remember ask people things like, hey, how are you? And they say, I'm horrible. And I've heard people say, oh, okay, yeah, that's good. I'm doing good. Like, they're not even listening to the person. It's like, wait a minute. So I actually, if I say hi to even a stranger and I say, hey, how are you? I wait to hear their answer, and I actually listen to it. Because sometimes it's not, I'm fine. Sometimes it's not, I'm good. Sometimes it's like, I'm having a really rough day. And then I might just offer a word of encouragement or a smile, or just say, it's going to get better, or I've been through that, or whatever. But I'm actually listening to what they say, not just saying some random response. Okay? All right, that's number one. Number two is to check in. Check in with the person if you're talking to them, and ask them some questions and say, does that make sense? You ever hear some of the best presenters? They'll say, are you following me? Who heard that? Or they'll have them raise their hand. They're checking in with their audience to make sure that they're still with them. You guys still with me? I want you to, that kind of stuff. That's important. Oh, Tanya, I'm gonna have to hire you. Look at her. Listen to understand and check in. Check in. That's what I do with my family sometimes. Hey, I just want to make sure that you heard what I was saying. Check in, or repeat back. Another way to check in is to repeat back what that person is saying. So if Charles and I are having some type of dispute, and I'm trying to understand, and we could talk about disputes another day, but if I'm trying to understand what he's saying, I can repeat that back to him and say, okay, so before I respond, let me make sure I get what you're saying. You're saying, like, I found out like 2 4th of Julys ago that Charles doesn't really like whipped cream like I do. I didn't even know that. So if we were talking about that, and I was all excited because I was making brats, I found out he didn't really like brats. Like, where have I been for the last 10, 12, 13 years? How come I don't know that my husband doesn't like brats and he doesn't like whipped cream? I think brats are the best. They're so good. They're like a sausage hot dog. Hey, Mercedes, that's my cousin, my first cousin. That's like a sister from another mister. I think that's where that really comes from. And I'm like, how does he not like brats? How does he not like whipped cream? I'm like, ooh, I'll make you some lemon cake and I'm gonna put some whipped cream on it. And he was like, you know, I'm really not all that excited about whipped cream like you. I was so hurt. And then I was like, ooh, I'm gonna make some brats, and I got them all cooked up. And he was like, I don't really like brats. I'm like, where have I been? Anyways, so if we were having that conversation, which we did, and I checked back and was like, so you're telling me that you're not really excited about whipped cream, is that right? You're telling me that you've never really been excited about brats. Did I get that right? Is that what you're saying? And the reason you need to check in is because sometimes you're understanding something differently than what someone meant. Has that ever happened to you? You said one thing and someone heard something else, they felt something else, they perceived something else. They saw it through their filter and they thought it was something else. I was listening to, can you believe I'm on Clubhouse? I've only talked one time because I didn't know how to do it. But I was listening to a couple of top leaders in the industry, in the sales industry. And this one lady was saying, she was talking about her feelings about the things that have happened with some of her team and how she was feeling like maybe she was going to be like a bad leader, or she had these thoughts about, oh, well, no, that's not it. I think this person, the leader, she was talking about these thoughts, and then the leader who was over the call was explaining how people have different intentions and we don't always know what they are. So like, let's say a person starts a business, like a side business, whatever. And their mom says, oh no, you shouldn't do that. No, you shouldn't do that. That's not a good business. That's not a good model. That's not a good whatever. And they're telling that to their daughter or their son. And the daughter or son is thinking, man, they're being so negative. Why are they being so negative? They don't support me. They never support me. And he was saying that mom probably thinks that they're showing you love, because they're trying to protect you from what they think is going to hurt you. You think that your mom is being unsupportive because you really want to do this business and they never support me, they never whatever. And the mom has a different intention than what you think it is, because you think they're not being supportive, and she thinks she is supporting you because she's trying to save you from this horrible business that you're going to do. I don't know if you've ever dealt with that. But those are two different places, right? So that's why you have to check in and say, even in that circumstance, if that was the mom and the daughter, that daughter can say, well, mom, why do you say that? Ask questions, right? Why do you say that? Why do you think that this would be a bad idea? And then they can explain and say, well, I had a bad experience with the business one time. It was kind of like that one. And I don't want you to have that experience. And then just that little teeny tiny question for clarification and understanding, because that person checked in, could save you from an argument, or save you from a feeling that you carry with you on and on and on, because you think somebody's not supportive when they really were trying to be supportive, because that's the way that they were trying to show you love, but you didn't check in to find out. So I like what James says, because he says, be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger, because we get mad so fast sometimes. We are so quick to be mad before we even find out what that person is saying, what they mean, where they're coming from, why they're coming from that angle, because they have their own experiences. Everybody has their own filters of life and experiences that they've had that makes them the way that they are. Sometimes it's not very pleasant, but it's still, there's a reason that people are doing what they do. So check in. The third point, or the third key for communication, is to focus. I learned from that billionaire, I don't know which one, but anything with an air sounds good, right? He said that if you're going to have a conversation, whether it's for sales or with a family member or whatever, especially if it's a difficult one, that you really should take some time to write out what that conversation is going to look like. What are the key points that you want to say? Even if you're doing a speech, you would do that, right? You would write out your key points and what you really want people to leave with. What's the main thing that you want people to leave with in your speech, your sermon, your talk, your conversation? You got to figure out what that is, and you have to really focus. So maybe let me think of something. Okay, so as a mom, maybe if I am feeling overwhelmed with all of the chores and things that I'm doing, I decide that I'm going to talk to Charles and ask him for some help. That would be my main focus. So if I were to go to him and say, hey, honey, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I got the dishes, I got the clothes, I got the kids, I got Legal Shield, I'm doing church stuff. I wanted to know if you could help me with a couple of things. Maybe if I wash the clothes, could you fold them? Or maybe if I wash the dishes, could you put them away? Or could you take a night and cook dinner? He makes this really good rotel and he makes some amazing hamburgers. Can you have a hamburger night so I don't have to cook on Fridays? We have a pizza night at my house. I know pizza's not that good for you, but we have a pizza night on Friday nights. That's what we do. The kids look forward to it. It was Charles's idea one day that I don't have to cook. And I go to him and I say that, and then if he says, well, you're not doing that, and this is not Charles, but if he says, well, you're not doing that much, you don't need all of this, I have to make sure I stay focused and say, I really need your help. And I have to focus on what it is that I want out of this conversation. I said, I know, but I really feel overwhelmed because I have like all these things to do. Could you just handle this one thing for me? It will really help me out. And if I stay focused on my point there, then that could help keep arguments down too. If I stay focused and I'm not quick to get angry, but I know what I'm going into this conversation for. I know what we're going to be talking about. Or if it's a difficult conversation, maybe you're dealing with someone who is mistreating you and you want to get that clear and just say, here's how I feel when you do that. Here's what I remember from those other times. And I really want to make sure that we respect each other. That's a nice way to say it, isn't it? One day I'm going to talk about tips on how to say things because I'm good at it. People come to me for it, I promise. I'm not just saying that, I am. So I want to make sure that we respect each other. Not always feeling that respect. I respect you, but I don't feel like I'm getting it back. And I want to see what we can do about that. Here are the couple of examples that I have where I felt disrespected. And if you get that written out and you think about that ahead of time, it can help guide your conversation so that if things get emotional, you can go back to your paper and say, okay, let me see. Okay, here's the other thing I wanted to say, because sometimes we forget. So focus on that conversation. What is the main point? What are you trying to accomplish with this conversation? Sometimes I have conversations, there is no goal, and I know what that is. I say, hey, let's have coffee, no agenda. Let's just talk. There is no agenda. So we're not focusing on anything except catching up. But there are other times when there is something very specific that we need to talk about. So we need to get that in there somewhere and then catch up around that, if that makes sense. And are you with me? Does that make sense? See, let me know. Tell me in the comments. Oh, look, there's more people here. Tell me in the comments if that's making sense so far. Send them some hearts and some likes. I'm checking in. All right. While you're doing that, I think the other thing, and this probably goes with number 3, but it really bugs me personally. And I know people have different reasons why they do and don't do this, but I think it's really important that you look people in the eyes. It just shows that you know who you are. It really shows that I know some people are good at lying, but that you're telling the truth, that you really are listening. You're looking at that person. If I'm just looking down and I'm talking like this and I'm doing stuff on my phone, you don't feel like you're being listened to, do you? I know I don't. It bugs me. And I have to make sure I put my phone down because sometimes I get in trouble because my husband's like, you're not listening, you're on Facebook. And he's right, I am. So I'll sit my phone down and I'll say, okay, honey, yes, what are you saying? I wasn't listening, because he'll say something. I'll be like, what did you say? Because I wasn't listening. But you want to look people in their eyes. Put your phone down. It doesn't take but a few minutes to have that conversation. Let that person know that you're listening and that you're tuned in. If you were watching a good movie, you wouldn't want to turn your eyes for one moment. You don't want to miss it. Oh, you missed that part. That was the best part. And now you don't know what's happening in the whole movie because you done turned around and you weren't looking. Same thing in a conversation. You might miss something very key and there might not be time to catch up on that. All right. Number 5 is just a recommendation, and that is to join Toastmasters. And I don't get paid for that, so don't think, oh, she's selling me Toastmasters. No, I went to Toastmasters as a guest, and let me tell you what it is. But I went to Toastmasters as a guest of one of my friends. She was doing a speech, and I came to listen. It was a humorous speech. It was so good. She had on this chef's hat, like a Chef Boyardee kind of hat, and she was throwing flour everywhere, and she was talking about Betty Crocker and Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima and all these different stories, and she just put it all together and told us some interesting facts about this cooking industry, and all the characters are on these different foods. And it was really good. And I just went to go listen. And then they evaluated her speech and gave her feedback. And I was like, this is great, because I'm all about growth and learning. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And then there was like this, well, it's like it still happens, but there's this thing called table topics where you get to do impromptu speaking, and they call on you. You have 1 to 2 minutes. Oh, that really makes your brain sharp, especially for interviews, or if you're talking to someone and they ask you questions on the spot. And sometimes you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. Imagine doing table topics for 3 or 4 years in a row, like I have. And now when people ask you stuff, you're quick because you've practiced it. And even if you're not speaking in the group, you hear other people and how they do it, and it makes you sharper. It helped me. I've been interviewed here in the last few months a lot. I was on the news. I was on a radio show twice. They ask you questions. You have to think on your feet. Actually, yeah, and there was another show I was on LinkedIn show with leaders. They ask you questions on your feet, and you have to be ready. And so I recommend that you find a Toastmasters, and you can come to mine. We have it online. But what it's helped me, and I'll talk about it another day in detail, but it is a public speaking and leadership organization where they help you with your public speaking skills and your leadership skills. It's that simple. And it's been around for almost 100 years. It has completely helped me in my communication. It has helped me hear things that I didn't realize I was doing. They pointed out some of my filler words, like is one of them. I'm working on it. I think it's a California thing. Another one of my filler words is and it's a long one. I would go, instead of pausing, I would say, and and I still have to catch myself because those are things that I've done. Or I'll say really a whole bunch of times. They also taught me that I can go on tangents a lot. I did my very first speech, and they told me, like, you were kind of out on a tangent. You weren't focused on your main thing. And so it was just really nice to be able to hear that kind of feedback. So even if you don't join a Toastmasters, get some feedback from the people who love you and find out what some of the things are that you need to work on as far as communication. Are you looking people in the eye? Are you listening? Are you interrupting them a lot, trying to finish their sentences like I used to do and I'm still working on getting better at? Are you repeating back, checking in? What are the things that maybe you need to work on in communication? Because it's really important. It's important in marriage. It's important in friendships. It's important in business, at your job. Communication is key. We all need to be good communicators. And if we're not as good as we want to be yet, we could work on it. I've been working on it. Toastmasters has helped me work on it. My friends helped me work on it. And I'll tell you what, we'll talk another time about like giving speeches and what you do, but I go back and listen to myself to see what I sound like, because I want to make sure that I was coming across. Like tonight, I'm probably way over the time I want it to be. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh well. I really need to go. Oh my God, I'm flying to Cabo in the morning. I got to finish packing. I've been on here for 28 minutes. That's what I get. I should have had Tanya tell me when it got to like 15 minutes because I really want to keep these at 15 to 20, but oh well, I think it'll still be really good and people can listen as long as they want to. But that's what I have for you tonight. Communication is super key. There are some more things that we can talk about when it comes to communication. I'll have to think of another title because that's important too, a catchy title. But we'll talk about it another day. I'll tell you more about Toastmasters and some of my experiences there. And there's so many things that I could talk about. But that's it for tonight. Those 5 keys again are listen. Listen to understand. Number 1, listen. Listen to understand. Number 2, you need to check in. Make sure people understand you. Number 3 is to focus. Make sure you focus on the main point of that conversation. Number 4 is really, look people in the eyes, be engaged. Okay, that's another way to say it. And then number 5, in my recommendation, I say join Toastmasters because it's going to help you be a better communicator. All right, so I'm Letitia Randolph. You can follow me. You can follow me on Twitter. But you probably shouldn't because I don't tweet. I only have 2 tweets in my whole life. So don't follow me there. But I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe. I'll know if you did because I'm at 141. So if I have 142, that means somebody else subscribed. I put these videos there and some others and some things that I don't put on Facebook, like little funny videos that we do with the family and my son singing and some sermons and things. So I hope that you have a great evening. I hope I didn't forget anything. Today's scripture was James 1 verses 19 and 20. Be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger, for the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. Look it up in the Passion Translation and be wowed. Thank you all for listening in. I'll see you next time. Tuesdays with Tish, 9 p.m. Central, every Tuesday night. I think next week I might talk about my journey of overcoming lateness. I think that'll be a good one. I'll talk to you all later. See you next time. Bye.